प्रभु मेरे परम सखा, परम सखा, मेरे परम सखा। हे प्रभु मेरे परम सखा, परम सखा। तुम्ही बंधु हो, तुम्ही स्नेही, तुम्ही हो मात पिता। दुख में धीरज देने वाले, कष्टों में सुध लेने वाले। दुख में धीरज देने वाले, कष्टों में सुध लेने वाले। तुम्ही सहाय सदा। हे प्रभु मेरे परम सखा, परम सखा, मेरे परम सखा। हे प्रभु मेरे
Om. Om. Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaveryam Karvavahu Tejas Vinavati Tamas Tumavit Vishavahi. Om Shahanti Shahanti Shahanti. Can you just spotlight me, please? Omkar, can you just spotlight me? I am not used to seeing a blank screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So by now you know that the law of life is as you think, so you become. You may not be aware of it, but each one of us is a expression of how we've chosen to reinforce our thoughts. That has made us our identity. To reinforce sporting thoughts, you have a strong sporting identity. You reinforce vindictiveness towards somebody, you're consumed by that thought that hook or by crook, I have to get that guy. You become vindictive person. Somebody says, where is the person I knew? Why you become so bitter? You become bitter because at this point of time, that's what you reinforce. So as you think, so you become. This is the law of life. So whatever it is that we have chosen to be is with the hope that in and through that expression of mine, I'll get sense of satisfaction, a sense of happiness, a sense of completeness, and I'll find freedom, which is not possible. That's why you want to marry and have children, because if you believe that the experience of that companionship and that child or children that you want will provide you the sense of completeness that you're yearning for, but it's not happening, as you know, in life. So one of the Vedanta puts the spotlight within us and puts the spotlights on our mind and shows to us that if you don't manage it and control it, that mind will come back and want you to tear. It will go wrong. And the reason for that is the intellect controls the mind. And you have not built your intellect. So therefore, the mind has its own way. It has no direction, no dimension. Therefore, your life is without direction, dimension. You're searching for something you know not what, in a place you know not where. So you have to build your intellect. And subtler than the intellect is your subtle intellect, which has a sense of inquiry. What is my equation with God? Vedanta says that behind all this is the self in you, the spiritual core of your personality, which is eternal and immortal. And you have the option of focusing on that. But to focus on that, we have to give it traction. That means we have to think about it, contemplate about it again and again in a structured and scientific manner. So when you think about it and contemplate on it repeatedly, you gain spiritual awareness. You become aware of the self in you and you become more spiritual. And as you become more spiritual, you see the short-sightedness and the futility of material pursuit. Both things you will see. And therefore, the greater joy you get out of a spiritual insight into things. And nobody understands the spirit better than the masters who have unfolded the spirit for themselves, who have unfolded the self. So ultimately, they give us the bottom line. The bottom line that they give us is that, in fact, you are the self, and this world that you see is merely a projection, merely illusion. So you're chasing the wrong side of the equation. So to get our act together, we need to make a reset in our approach to our life, in our approach to our work and profession, in our approach to this world, and in our approach to the desires that we have. We need to make a reset on it. In order to make a reset on it, we have to gain traction in terms of inner conviction and faith on this mystery which we have not thought about, which is the self in us. Because without that power of the self in us, we cannot even think, and we cannot even walk, and we cannot even talk. We think the thinking and feeling is a natural thing. It is empowered by the self in you. So therefore, Vedanta's job is to disabuse us from a false pursuit. Any kind of equation with the world, however good you can make it, if you're unselfish and objective and have fellow feeling, you'll have a good equation with the world. But any kind of equation with the world is exercise in futility. You'll go through endless cycles of birth and death for nothing at all, for no meaning and purpose. You're as much the dream, you're as much, this waking world is as real to you as the dreaming world is real to the dreamer. Both have got no pith or substance. To exercise in futility. So to do that, we must examine the combination of the self in us and these experiences that we have with the focus on the self in us. So that is what Shergel says. He put it up. The Western philosophers, when they picked up the scriptures, when they picked up the Upanishad, they all of a sudden found a clarity on issues which they were confused with. And all philosophers have only three questions. Who am I really? What is the mystery called God? And what is the equation between God, me, and the world? That is the trifecta of questions which is the holy grail of those who seek the truth. So, India and the Upanishad is the source of this knowledge. So, when they examined this knowledge, they were stupefied. This is what Shelton said. Put it up, please. The divine origin of man. Omkar, you got it? Bharat, you given it?
Yes, sir. Give me a second.
The divine origin of man is circulated and recirculated to excite him and to incite him. The divine origin of man is continually circulated to stimulate his efforts to return, to animate him in the struggle, and to incite him to consider a reunion and recooperation with divinity as the primary object of every action and exertion. So unless we gain traction with this thought, we will not make the reset to make the primary object of action and exertion is to regain recooperation with our divinity, to get back to the self. That is the primary object of every action and exertion. Loka Sangraha is good. Loka Sangraha means functioning for the welfare of others. It is better, is by far the better option than functioning for yourself, because we owe, so you must repay. But that's not going to cut the ice. You function for the welfare of others because it sets the platform for you to become, the mind to become peaceful and grateful. But you catapult from there into wanting to reach the self alone. And you engage in the world but don't get involved in samsara. That's the reset you have to make. In order to make that reset, we have to go through many iterations. It means many sessions, internal sessions of contemplation. Internal 10 minutes, 15 minutes is enough. But you have to do it every day. A day spent without sight or sound of beauty, without the contemplation of mystery, is a poverty-stricken day. And a succession of such days is fatal to the human condition. We have to set some time apart to think philosophically about the truth. So the scriptures are already there, and then we have the benefit of Swamiji, who has extracted and simplified things for us so that we can build up a conviction based on validating what we know with an appropriate comparison, and then inferring what we don't know, which is the self. And this exercise is what we are doing and what we are about to repeat. Yeah. So you put up that PowerPoint, which is the one. What is the title of that?
Reflected personalities, is it, sir?
So what we have discussed last week is that you're taking your thoughts and feelings for granted, but your thoughts and feelings per se are only data. It's only inert, without any life. That which animates the thought, which makes you conscious of the fact that you are aware of something, that makes you aware of your emotion, conscious of your thought, is actually the self in you. Like it is the battery that animates this animating the screen just now in front of you. The animating this PowerPoint that is going to come. The PowerPoint is only a data. This image of mine is only pixels. It's animated because of the battery. So anything that you experience is animated because of the self in you. That is eternal and immortal. the thoughts that you have, they have evaporated content. This aspect you must grasp. Just like if you come to the laptop and you punch something and nothing is happening, automatically you know there is no battery, it's not charged up. But you know the data is there. So nothing is coming. Nothing is coming because the battery is there, or it's not connected. So unless your mind is connected with the self, nothing will come up. So it's the self in you that animates your mind. So that is what you know is data and battery. So no data comes unless the battery is active. So your thoughts cannot become active unless the self in you connects it. So in the battery, there is no data. In the self, there are no thoughts, there are no feelings in the self. The feelings and thoughts are data points, inert matter in your mind and intellect. They get animated because of the self. That's what you have to understand. With that understanding, we go step by step. Put it up, please, Omkar. Right. So this is a revision in a more detailed form of what we did last week. So as you know, this stuff, this little bucket which you see is representative of your mind. So your mind functions at 3 levels of awareness. Fully conscious mind, as it is just now, functioning through this gross body just now. So fully conscious, fully available for activity. And when you go to sleep, the mind disconnects with the gross body and you lapse into your subtle body, into your mind alone, without the gross body which is sleeping. So at that point of time, you start dreaming. So whatever your subconscious thoughts are animated by the self. And when all thoughts subside out of fatigue, all thoughts subside, you become unconscious. The mind loses its awareness of its own self. So at that point of time, you go into deep sleep. So this you are aware that just now I am the waker. Later on, when I doze off or sleep, I become a dreamer, and then I become deep sleeper. But you go through these cycles again and again. So now we put the spotlight on all these 3 cycles. Because of the waker, you are able to recognize all 3. That advantage you must have. We put a spotlight on that. So as a waker, you got not one thought, you got many thoughts. But at any given time, you say, I am this, I am this, I am that. That is because that particular thought cluster is given on the left. Each circle is a thought cluster. So at any given time, one small cluster of thought comes into play, just like on your laptop just now, you put this program. So if this program, out of that millions of data points you have on your phone, this one little program is coming into play. So like that, in your mind, you've got so many thoughts. Of those millions of thoughts, one cluster of thought is coming into play just now. And after this class, another one will come into play. That's what is happening all the time. So each circle is a thought cluster. And this is how it works. Yes. So 1 minute, stop it there, stop it there. So, put up your consciousness. Put up the first slide, yes. Yeah, so there is pure consciousness, which is eternal and unchanging, the self in you. And when that pure consciousness impacts any quality of thought that you have, as the thought, so is your awareness of your identity. Yes. Ever-changing identities. Yes. After 2 or 3, you'll get it. Yes. Do the first one. The self in you is I. It's getting into your mind. And it gets conditioned by the thought of your mind. And you say, I am the waker. This is what you're saying now, I am saying now. You know, I know I am awake. So therefore, I say I am the waker. It's self-evident. Because the self in me is animating this total mind of mine in general and saying that I am the waker. Okay, next. That see on the right, pay attention on the right. This is one thing that I have established. I am the waker. It doesn't, it's obvious. Yes, next. So another point in time, you had a cluster of thoughts which identified itself as whatever makes up a boy or a youth. So you said that I am a boy. Then you said it, I am a boy. Or if you see a young kid, he says, I am a boy. What makes him say, I am a boy, is the self in him is animating that those thoughts which identify themselves as a boy. So he says, I am a boy. It's easier to see it somewhere else because you are already 30 years old. But when you are a boy, that's what, when you are a girl, that's what you said. If you see a boy or a girl, now who are you? I'm a boy. What is making him say, I am a boy, is the self in him, not your self in him, is animating those thoughts which, when animated, express themselves as a boy. It's simple if you understand it. You have to get used to it. You're not focusing on it. After some time, you get traction on it. Yes. So see on the right, I am a boy. Next. In the same way, some years later, you say, I am a youth, or that little kid, he grows up, he says, I am a youth. Because the thoughts of a boy and thoughts of a youth are different. Yes. So now he says, I am a youth. Okay, so when you reach something like my age, you say, I am an old man, I am old. So when I review myself, today I am saying I am old. Some years ago, I said I was in prime of my life. Before that, I said I was a youth. Before that, I said I am a boy. So, but all this, just like youth faded, boy faded, this age will also fade. And the cycle of birth and death, I'll become boy again. You understand? So all the things on the right, they keep changing. But what remains constant? What remains constant in and through all these experiences that I'm talking? What is the constant element of it? I'm asking the class.
I
The
am.
I. So the I is what? The waker
self.
is not constant. He is going through metamorphosis every day because the waker will become dreamer. The boy goes through metamorphosis within 5-6 years, becomes a youth, then it again changes. So which is the I which is constant?
I am.
I'm asking class, which is the I which is constant?
I
The
am which
self.
is the self.
Huh?
I am
self.
which is the self.
Louder, I can't hear. Put up the gentleman on the screen who's speaking, please. Which is the I which is constant?
So I say I am which is the self.
Yes. Which is the I which is constant? What is your name, sir? Ramesh? Suresh?
Suresh, yes, sir.
Suresh. So I
Yes,
is
sir.
the self in you.
Correct, sir.
The self in you is the constant permanent element. The other part of it is conditional, is changing. Is here today, gone tomorrow. You understand?
Right, sir.
So you can, when you review your whole life, you can say that when the self in me contacted my youngish thoughts, I said I was a boy. When the self in me is contacting my youth thoughts, I said I'm a youth. When the self in me contacted my prime thoughts, at that point of time, I was a businessman. Now it's contacting me just now. And I say I'm old. But what is enabling me to understand I'm old is the self in me. Right? This age will come, age will go. So that is the permanent aspect of your personality. And whatever you are seeking in life is happiness, which is permanent and unchanging, and freedom, which is permanent and unchanging. So the self in you is permanent, it is unchanging, it is not subject to karma, it is not subject to birth and death. Whatever is on the right is subject to karma. As a waker, as a boy, you are subject to karma. You are paying the price of stupidity of the past. You are paying now. Your indulgences of the past is the cause of the powerless nature of your health just now. Your discipline of the past is the benefit you are enjoying just now. So at any given time, you are subject to karma, limitation. The self in you is outside of karma and outside of birth and death. That attention you must pay. Okay, next. So whatever you've done in the past is, you are rich just now. It's a matter of fact. So you say, I am rich. And if that is what you are, you say, I am an athlete. Like the fellow we discussed yesterday, who is both a rich as well as he is athlete, like
Mark Zuckerberg.
Correct. Yes. Next fellow. So these are emotions. So when your mind is suffused with the emotion, when animated, you say, I am sad. Sadness is by itself a certain quality of emotion, but it has to be animated. So it is, unless it is animated by the self in you, you will not recognize that you are sad. Now my question is, the self sad? Is the self sad? I'm asking. Is
No.
the self in you sad?
No.
The self in you is pristine. It is neither happy nor it is sad. It is consciousness, pure consciousness. You understand? That pure consciousness, where it animates a quality of emotion, you identify with that emotion as sadness. So sadness is the emotion in your mind, which has to be animated by the self in you to recognize the fact that you are sad. The self in you is not sad. That's what you must recognize. Yes, next. Similarly, too many times in the day, to different degrees, you blow your gasket. So you say, I'm angry, red. You understand, the self has got no anger, but without the self, you will not experience the heat of anger. It's not possible. Sorry. And less than you want, but whenever it happens, you say, I am happy. So happiness is also a pleasant state of mind. But for you to acknowledge I am happy, the self in you has to animate it. By itself, happiness is an emotion which is inert, has got no life in it. You think that it is automatic, it is self-effulgent. That is the problem. So it is not self-effulgent. It requires the self in you to animate that quality which makes you recognize happiness. So the self in you, it is that is making you recognize happiness, which of course is ephemeral. It will come and go. So you say, I am happy. Now you've gone to sleep and your subconscious mind is being animated. So he says, now hold the slide there, please. You say, I am a dreamer. Now you put it on the right. See, when he's saying, I am the dreamer, you say, no, put that slide, I am a dreamer. What are you seeing on the right? Look on the right, what are you seeing over there? I don't know if it's available on your screen. That I am the waker is flashing, no? Can you see it on your screen?
Yes, sir.
The I am the waker is flashing. Why is I am the waker flashing?
They are the same statement.
Huh?
They are the same statement.
I am
They're
the
different, no,
dreamer is
sir.
flashing.
You are saying I am dreamer now. Just now you are saying I am the dreamer, but on the right you are saying I am the waker. So you can't be dreamer and waker at the same time.
The conviction is the same.
The conviction of the dreamer is the
That-
same as the conviction of the waker. You understand? But dreamer is entirely different. Waker, the dreamer is, as you will see, the dreamer is poor. So his conviction that he's poor is as strong as the conviction that you are rich. That is the point you have to capture. Okay, that's why it's flashing. You can't be same, and it's 10 minutes of each other. Yes, next. Next. Now this is a dreamer. This is a dream. So in one dream, after waking up, you recognize that you are poor. In that dream, you assert, I am poor. So the assertion that I am poor is as strong as the assertion that I am rich. Now, how can you be rich here and 20 minutes later you say I am poor? So either you are poor or you are rich. You can't be both. But each says, okay, don't waste my time. The rich fellow says, I am rich, I am not poor. Poor fellow says, I am poor, I am not rich. But both are you. So what is the answer to that?
You're neither rich nor poor. It's that these
But
are
what? Huh?
these are conditioned states.
These are conditioned states. So therefore, since they are conditioned states, the unconditioned part of it is the self. So that is outside of richness and poverty. You're right. But the point is, why is the poor fellow rejecting the fact that he is rich? Poor fellow says, don't waste my time, don't be cruel, don't be cruel. What are you telling me that I am rich? Why does he reject that he's rich? I'm asking.
Because it is as real to him as it was when it was in Waker when he was rich.
My dear, it is for the poor person, his poverty is real, full stop.
Correct.
Why is he rejecting that he's rich?
He's ignorant of the waking state.
Huh?
He's ignorant of the waking state.
Correct. So he is rejecting the fact that he is rich out of ignorance of his higher state, which is the waking state. Correct. Why is the waker rejecting that he is poor?
Because he has information on the dream state and he recognizes it as
Correct. So the waker is rejecting the fact that he is poor out of knowledge. The poor fellow in the dream is rejecting the fact that he is rich out of ignorance. You get it? The waker is rejecting the fact that he is poor out of knowledge because he is woken up. The poor fellow is rejecting the fact that he is rich out of ignorance because he can't understand it. Therefore, what are we doing?
we are rejecting our self as pure consciousness out of ignorance.
Correct. We are rejecting, we are not able to understand that we are actually divine out of ignorance. And the self who is divine is rejecting our state out of knowledge. It's saying, sorry, you are fooling yourself. You're a victim of your own imagination. Correct. That is what you have to understand. The masters have knowledge, so therefore they say, son, you're engaging at the wrong end of the equation. We reject the master is like, I don't know what you're talking. But we have the capacity to contemplate and think. As we contemplate and think, we have the ability to buy into a higher vision. That's what we are doing now. The dreamer cannot buy into a higher vision. But we can buy into a higher vision because of subtle intellect. Because of that, we are doing this exercise. So progressively, you can gain traction. It's not all or nothing. Yes, next. Okay, so then at another time, another dream, he said, I am a cripple. As you can see, these three states, poor, cripple, etc., is what we had done in the earlier slide. Yes, put it up. Yeah, I am a cripple. Next. Then he goes to sleep. And in his deep sleep, the observer of the experience of deep sleep says that I am a deep sleeper. The self in you, conditioned by absence of thought, makes you aware you're a deep sleeper experiencing nothing. Next. The experiences of nothingness. So self in you, impinging on the emptiness of your mind, makes that mind acknowledge that I am nothing. The experience is nothing. Bliss. I am deep sleeper. Correct. Yes. What is the last part? Is there a slide left now? Okay. Is that the complete slide? So when the total mind dissolves, when the total mind, so no, put up the earlier slide. So what is Swamiji trying to say? What is the text trying to say? What is Jankiji trying to explain? It's highlighted on the right. What is he trying to say? If you examine Gnana Yoga, second or third paragraph, he's saying something. He says, one time you say I am boy, another time you say I am the youth, another time you say I am rich, another time you say I am crippled, another time you say I am waker, another time you say I am deep sleeper, another time you say I am nothing. What are you talking? Which is how can one I be all these things?
I am none of these.
So what are all the things on the right? What are all these things on the right?
These are conditioned states.
Maya.
Correct. These are conditioned states. The permanent I, the self in me, conditioned by all these stupidity of my mind, has made me believe I am those stupid things. So I have to erase the stupidity of my mind. When I exhaust the mind, what will remain? The default of exhaustion of the mind, what will remain is the self in me. So when whoever dissolves all this has the benefit of, you can become the self. When you dissolve the mind, the default is you become the self. When you become, that's what the slide is. Yes. Now you can fill up. When the total mind dissolves, when all thoughts dissolve, total mind will dissolve. Then you say, I am the self. Ham Brahmasmi, you assert that. So that is the end of knowledge. So we have to learn about the self through inference and comparison. And then we have to put in the effort to eliminate desire. So when you eliminate desire, the default is, I am the self. So whoever is, all the masters have eliminated desire. So at that point of time, they are validating that now that I have become the self, I can assure you that this world that you see is just another dream. So that is their validation of their experience. Yes, I am the self, Aham Brahmasmi. The pure consciousness that animated the many avatars of my earlier mind. So the self is the pure consciousness that has animated the many avatars of your earlier mind. So you must gain traction. I must gain traction that I'm experiencing so many things. Although I'm experiencing them, it's not possible without the singularity of the self in me. I have to focus on that. So the self in me is eternal, immortal, unchanging, and non-dual. That is what I want through all the options that I choose. Yes. It is ever free and it is infinite. Ever free means what? Ever free means what? Ever
Not
free
bound.
means never bound. So what does it mean? He's not bound by what?
Unbound of any conditionalities.
Huh?
Unbound by any conditionalities.
No, that is a correct word. But what is our bondage?
Free from karma.
Our
Correct.
desires.
Correct. You and I, however powerful we are constrained by karma. We can't do what we want and get what we want. It's not possible. If we do what we want, we have to pay the price for it. And if we want to get what we want, we can't do what we want. So we are hostage to karma. We can only function in the window that it permits us. self is not hostage to karma. It's the commander of karma, but he is free. He is never bound. And it doesn't go through circles of birth and death. And of course, it is infinite. Infinitude is difficult to understand. Okay. Okay. Is there anything else left? Okay. When I step back and witness my many avatars, identities, I realize that each is a conditioned identity. Yes. That's what we have to do by repetitive thinking. The pure consciousness in me, apparently conditioned by the relevant inner thought clusters in my memory bank. Apparent. Why is it apparently put into brackets? Pure consciousness in me, apparently conditioned by the relevant inner thought clusters in my memory bank. Why is it put into brackets?
It appeared as conditioned. It is not.
The self in you is all powerful. How can the self in you be influenced by something stupid? You can be influenced by something more powerful than you. Something more powerful than you cannot be influenced. The self in you cannot be, is not conditioned. It's an imaginary conditioning. There is no union between spirit and matter. It's an imaginary union. But it appears to be conditioned. Just like the light, if it passes through a blue mirror, appears blue, is conditioned by the color. The light is, sun appears to be conditioned by the limitation of where the reflecting medium. Sun is free of everything. The pure consciousness in me, apparently conditioned by the relevant inner. This we don't know. So we have to understand that every thought is per se terrestrial. It is inert, without life. What gives it life is the self in me. From beginning to end, the unconditioned I is my real self. So that is one flow of thought. Now, if you remember that having gone through few days of waking, dream, deep sleep, and you review these cycles that you go through, you become contemplative. You start reflecting on these cycles. You are taking for granted that you have one life. It's an incorrect thing. During one day, you got several lives. Just now, you have a life as a waker. When you go to sleep, you have 2, 3, 4 lives as a dreamer. Each person has his own life, experiencing his own world. And in deep sleep, you are experiencing nothing. So at any 24-hour cycle, you're going through multiple lives. You don't have one life. So Adi is only the waker. When I go to sleep, there are 2, 3 identities, 2, 3 worlds that come into play. And when I'm in deep sleep, nothingness comes into play. So I have to examine all these to understand the truth. All these have to come under scanner or examination, which I can do after waking up. So this is the reflection, which we said we will be doing today. We are doing it now. Reflections of the waker after dreaming up, after waking up. The reflections of the waker after waking up from his experiences of sleep and dream. No, not this. That PowerPoint which we said we will do last week, that you have to put up. Bharat, you have sent it to them as a PDF?
Yes, sir.
That PDF you have got, we'll do it as a PowerPoint here. Omkar, please put it on.
It's a bit confusing for me. Which number is that, Bharat? Reflections and content.
I'll tell you.
Number 4, right, sir?
That is the
What
one
is
we
the
saw.
title of it? Reflections of the. It is called Reflection of this thing.
Reflected personalities.
Not reflected personality.
The
Reflections of the.
reflection and contemplation.
1 minute, I'm trying to get it.
Reflection
that
and
one.
contemplation by the waker about his dream.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Put it
okay,
up.
got it.
It was sent by Bharat, sir.
Yes, yes, got it.
Slide number 3. Okay. Correct. So we are doing step by step. Reflection and contemplation by the waker about his dreams. So contemplation is reflection is observing the dream, because that can be validated. Contemplating is inferring the pure consciousness behind it. Yeah. So each dream experience was as solid and real as my experience as a waker. So this is an observation. You have to capture 1 minute. No point throwing the dream out, saying that it is only illusion. That's not going to help you. What you have to capture is, after waking up, that while the dream lasted, the solidity of the dream identical to the solidity of this experience now. That's what you have to capture. Yes. As a waker, I now know each dream emanated from my mind, projected itself as a solid factual reality, and then dissolved into my mind when the dreamer woke up. This projection, existence, and dissolution into your mind. Your mind is a substratum from which the dream world projected itself, existed for a while and dissolved back into your mind. This creation and dissolution cycle, this you can validate as a waker, is it not? You should. That is a contemplation. You should. What is the master saying? What is the master saying about our experiences here?
The master can recognize that this is a projection.
No. Master is saying, you have to use the same terminology, my dear, otherwise you lose the whole plot. We are making you're establishing this. So masters are saying Brahman alone is. On the substratum of the Brahman, the world comes into play. It exists for a while and dissolves back into Brahman. This is what the master is saying, which you can't understand, but you can understand this, that your mind is always there as the substratum. From the substratum of the mind, the dreamer and his world projects itself as a reality. It plays its drama out, and once the drama is played out, it subsides back into the mind. The Brahman is the substratum on which this illusion comes into play through the medium of your mind. And having come into play, once it runs out of its nata, it will subside back into your mind and it will subside back into Brahman, before which it comes into play again. This is the comparison. This is the inference. That's how you do it. Yes, next. When the fully conscious mind lost its identity as the waker, the subconscious mind assumed the identity as a dreamer. What do you have to understand there? This is how the dreamer came into being. How did you come into being as a dreamer? I'm asking. Suresh, how did you come into being as Subhash the dreamer? Suresh.
That is from the projection of the waker's mind, sir.
My dear, not projection of the. I am asking you a more specific question. Mukesh, no. Mukesh, I am asking you, how did you become Mahesh in the dream?
Because you didn't have full consciousness.
Huh?
Because your
Stolen from
subconscious
the
mind.
ignorance of
Subconscious mind projected that.
How did
The
Mukesh
subconscious mind
become Mahesh in the dream? Your mind today knows it is Mukesh. No?
Yes.
Sir,
Your mind today
ignorance,
knows it is Mukesh, is it not?
Yes.
Yes. So when you doze off, you can't go to sleep unless the last Mukesh's thought disappears, is it not? Only then can you go to sleep. One thought,
Yes.
thought is there, you can't go to sleep. So when that thought disappears, there's a possibility that Mahesh may come into play. That happens because your mind loses its ability to recognize that it is Mahesh. Unless your mind loses its ability to recognize it is Mahesh, it cannot become Mukesh. So it is ignorance of your mind, temporary ignorance of your mind that it is Mukesh, makes the mind believes that it is Mahesh. You get it?
Yes.
Unless your present mind loses traction that it is Mahesh, it cannot become Mukesh. That is the aspect you must understand. That ignorance of Mahesh is the cause of Mukesh the dreamer. Mukesh the dreamer doesn't come from midair. It requires a condition for that identity to become alive. The condition that makes that identity I keep mixing up your Mahesh. The condition that makes Mahesh all of a sudden alive is that it is forgotten that it is Mukesh. You get it? That's what you have to capture. If you understand this, how to extrapolate, what you are supposed to extrapolate.
When the pure consciousness loses its identity, it becomes the waker. When it forgets,
When Deep Raj loses its identity, that it is actually the self.
yes, then
It is
it becomes
because
Deep Raj.
you have become Deep Raj because you have forgotten that you are actually the self.
Yes.
So when you gain caution, when you regain awareness that you are the self, the Deep Raj is gone. When you lose identity as the self in you, you become Deep Raj. You get it? That is the comparison. That is the inference. So this you know that Deep Raj cannot become Deepak unless the mind that recognizes Deep Raj forgets that it is Deep Raj. Only then will it become Deepak. Are you with me? But as soon as Deepak evaporates, it recognizes that Deep Raj. That is the comparison. So that is what we have to extrapolate into the mystery. When they say that ignorance of the self is the cause of your personality and the projection of the world. What is the meaning of ignorance of the self? You can validate it here. Ignorance of Mukesh has made me Mahesh. Ignorance of Deep Raj has made me Deepak. Okay, next. That is the one thing you know, the other thing you have to infer. Now he's making another point. How is it that the insubstantial, inert thoughts of my mind projected themselves as a solid world in the dream, a world having its own elements of time, space, and causation? What is he saying here? First, he is talking from a platform of knowledge. That platform of knowledge tells him what about his mind. That in your mind is nothing but insubstantial thought. Your mind is nothing but a memory bank. Memory bank is thoughts. They are insubstantial. You know that in the dream, these thoughts have become alive. They became real. They have become solid. The world became real. So the dream world that you experience, as a waker, you know what nothing but projection of your own mind. And your own mind is nothing but insubstantial thought. So how did insubstantial thought become solid objects in living beings? And having a world with time, space, and causation just like this, the world that you experience in the dream has got millions of years ago. It came for millions of years. It will exist, and thousands of things are happening over there. as standalone as you see over here. But after waking up, you know that all of them were elements of your own mind. Not then. They appear to have independent elements themselves. Then. Now you know that all come from your mind. So how did insubstantial thought become solid objects? Is what I'm asking before we put the answer.
There has to be an animating principle behind it.
So that animating principle is in you. The mind has mind has the capacity to animate by itself.
No, it's inert by itself.
It cannot animate. Why it cannot animate by itself?
Because in the waking state, we see that our thoughts cannot
Correct.
create.
As we said, simple example that your pet dog is dead now. You can't bring pet dog in front of you just to play with it. You can't animate however much you want. And you are in full command of your mind now. Yet you can't do it. Your grandmother whom you loved is gone. You can't bring her. You are in full command. So how can a subconscious mind do it? So therefore
We must have
therefore,
something independent of the mind that is animating this.
How much power is that which is independent of the mind? How much power does it require?
Power beyond.
Beyond comprehension. So it's
Yes.
omnipotent, all powerful. You understand? So what is beyond your mind and what is behind the dream state is the pure consciousness in you. Nothing else is beyond the mind, excepting the pure consciousness in you. That stays with you whichever way the mind goes. So it is the pure consciousness in you which has the capacity of converting insubstantial thought into real objects. That is the inference. You are aware of the fact that pure consciousness is with you in your subconscious state also. And you are aware of the fact that the subconscious has become a real world for the dreamer. So therefore, it is the omnipotent power of the self in you which is enabling that projection to become a reality. That is the inference. Put it up. Only plausible explanation is that my real self, said to be omnipotent, has the power to generate a reality whenever it animates the relevant pockets of my mind. What is the simply ideas and thoughts becomes reality. Imagine it, what is imagination becomes reality. That is the inference. Yes, next. 4. This is something that you have to, it can be validated. I dream about 20, 30 times a night. This is possible in a laboratory because most of the dreams that you have is from dream state you enter deep sleep state. If you enter from dream into deep sleep, you will not remember anything. You wake up only 2, 3 times a night. So only when you from dream you wake up, can you remember that there was a dream. From dream to deep sleep, you don't remember. On the stylus, you can see it in a laboratory. So I dream about 20, 30 times a night, more than 700,000 dreams in my life. Each dream is a fact, real in the dream state. Each dissolves in my mind upon waking up. Each of those dreams were factual then, fictional now. Even if you remember 3 dreams a night, there are still 1,000 worlds, 1,000 lives, factual then, fictional now. So every time you wake up, you recognize that fictional. Every time you go to sleep, they were real. And all of it happened because every time you lost your identity that you are Mahesh. Unless you lose identity or Mahesh, you cannot have these avatars of various dream personalities. The dreamer can never accept each dream as being unreal, but it is self-evident now after waking up. This is what the masters call as Maya. So what is Maya? The recognition of the fact that for the experiencer, his world is real. it is only for the observer outside of that conditioning. For him, it is unreal. But for the victim of the conditioning, that world of his is real. This is the point. This is what masters call as Maya. So what we believe is impossible. We ourselves are architects of our own Maya with respect to all dream worlds. We are the masters of Maya with respect to all dream worlds. We are not fooled by it. At the same time, we recognize that it is so for the dreamer. So you are sympathetic about the dreamer's trauma, but you are not fooled by it because you know it is imagination. Similarly, the masters are sympathetic about our trauma here, but they know that it is imagination. This is what the masters call Maya. You are demonstrating Maya every day without understanding. You must call the bluff of your own world here. Yes, next.
Can you repeat that definition, sir, of Maya you just said?
See, the Maya is not illusion totally. Maya is, for the dreamer, his world is real. No? For the dreamer, his world. So as a waker, you should not discount the trauma of the dreamer, because for him, his world is real. So in the dream, whatever is required to placate his trauma, the people should do. But his salvation is waking up. So the masters, they say for us, we are conditioned. So for us, this waking world is real. But it's real for the waker. You, the waker, it is real. Not for me. But since it is real to you, the waker, I have to give you some solution to maintain a certain peace and harmony with this world that you see. Because for you, karma is real. You can't escape it. But for me, it is a piece of fiction. But when you, as you wake up, you will understand and you will de-traumatize yourself. So that is my. It is neither real nor unreal, but it is real when it exists. It is unreal when you wake up. From a higher state of consciousness, you understand it is all humbug. From lower state of consciousness, you understand that it is valid for that limitation of that mind. For the child, his world is essential and real to him. How real is it to you? So you humor the child. You don't say, what is there in toys? You humor the child, you play with it, but you understand it is folly. You understand? Child is rejecting you out of ignorance. You are rejecting the child's value out of knowledge. But that does not mean you don't humor the child. You are sympathetic. That's the same thing masters do to us. You follow? The reality of each dream was based on the evidence of the dreamer's senses and his memory. What is the basis on which the dreamer says it is real? This is real. The dreamer is knocking his table, it is real. Just like I am knocking my table, it is real. So how can you say it is not? That's what the dreamer is saying. His memory, what is memory saying? What is the dreamer's memory saying?
That I am so and so, I have done this and this activity.
You're right. So dreamer is saying that I am just now 40 years old and I am the product of the union of my parents. And my children who are 6 years old are the product of the union between me and my wife 6 years ago. That's what you're saying. Dreamer is saying. That his memory is telling him that. What is the fact of the matter? In the dream, you're sitting with your parents and your children. So you're establishing a causality, no? You're establishing the fact that union of my parents 40 years ago has produced me, and the union between me and my wife 6 years ago has produced this child who is here sitting and playing with you now. This is what you're saying. What is the fact of the matter? After waking up.
That this was just created 10 or 15 minutes ago. This whole world was just created 10 or 15 minutes ago.
The fact of the matter is that all the entire 3 generations came together at the same time. Just like a movie on the screen, there is a projection of 3 generations. So supposing 10 past 10, the projection comes up, the parents are born 60 years old, the son is born 40 years old, and child is born 6. All came into being at the same time. With a memory that they have 60 years, 20 years, 30 years of experience. But the fact of the matter is that they were born at the same time with a memory of experiences which they believe they went through. That's what you must understand. You can't grasp it, but you have to understand. The married person in the dream is asserting that I went through school and college, these are my certificates. Has he gone through school and college with the only certificate?
No.
But he's asserting no. And he's proving. What is the basis on which you are proving that you are 40 years old because your school certificate is that you're bringing onto the table? No? You understand, you're asserting with the same emphasis. So if that is if the dreamer's mind can fool him there, you have to acknowledge that there is a possibility my memory is fooling me here. You have to accommodate that. That is the point. My senses are telling me this is real, but I have to accommodate. My senses fool me there. The same mind is going to fool me here. You have to accommodate that. That is the whole point. Not saying it's unreal, but it is still fooling me. Next. My experiences now as a waker are also based on the evidence of my senses and memory. Next. The world I see as a waker is directly correlated with the emphasis of thoughts and desires of my mind. My perception of the world also changes as my thought changes. So even here, as your mind, so is your world. See, you're going through a transformation of thinking. So as your insights into the world are altered because of the insights of Vedanta. So as you look at the world through the insights of Vedanta, you see your children, your world different from how you saw it earlier. So as your mind, so is your world. It's happening now. As my perception changes, my thoughts also, my world also changes. Correct. I'm sorry, I have to go fast. Next. I could never experience anything internally or externally unless my real self animated these experiences, unless the pure consciousness in my mind made me conscious of all these experiences. That's again and again comes back to square one. Identify with the self in you. Yes, next. So what is the truth? Only the self-realized who revel in pure consciousness can answer. And this is the final part of learning. We learn through direct perception, inference, comparison, or tradition. Tradition is validation by somebody who has experienced it. So what is the truth? Only the self-realized who revel in pure consciousness can answer. So every self-realized person has one singular answer. He is talking out of conviction based on experience. Your waking world is just another dream projected by your fully conscious mind. It is real to you, but it is only real to the waker. So as a waker, this world is real to you. It is not, the masters don't say it is humbug. So don't discard it as humbug. You have to pay the price of this reality. It is real to you, the waker alone. Yes, next. But it is only as real as the dream world was real for the dreamer when he was dreaming. How real was the dream world for the dreamer? As real as this world. How real is the actual dream world? It is never real, it is Maya. So therefore, how real is this world? It is real as a waker. But how real is it actually? It is not, it's just another dream. You have to toggle in these two. You have to toggle in these two. Then you wake up, otherwise you remain asleep. Next. When you become the self, gain the subjective experience of the pure consciousness, it will become self-evident that all your experiences as waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper were fictional. They had no reality independent of your mind, mere illusion, Maya. Is that the end of the slide? So this is just one construct. So like that, every day, here and there, you have to give some thought to it. So as you give thought to it, you gain traction with the self in you. The divine origin of man is you. Self in you is brought into play again and again, again and again. But we need the help of master, teacher, text, tuition, slide to do it. Then you reflect upon it. Then you make a reset in your life. And then you get a clear idea of, how to approach life. That how to approach life is on that slide. Just put up that slide, please. Bharat has given you. It's
It's on the screen, sir.
13, quintessence, correct. See, quintessence of Vedanta is wisdom. So as you gain wisdom, as you get insight, in the beginning you thought life was what is on the left, conditioned consciousness. So at the beginning you were told that you are a combination of spirit and matter, which now you know is not possible. On the right, the truth is that you are only the self. Then you assume that God created this world which now produces beings. Now on the right, you understand that it is the ignorance of the self which has produced the mind which is projecting the world. This is the truth. What you believe is on the left, that God created the world which is now producing beings. Now that it is created, the fact of the matter is that causation is infallible. So don't mess with karma. But the self in you is outside of causation. So you have a choice. So how to move from limitation to non-limitation? So to do that, when we act, it is not good enough to be unselfish in our actions. Our actions should be selfless. We have to discharge our obligations in life, but in a selfless spirit, no ego behind it. Our devotion has to be unconditional surrender. Don't put roadblocks to how is this, how is that. Devotion should be unconditional. And when there is unconditional surrender, your subtle intellect must call the bluff of your own mind. And even as you become unselfish, life becomes better and better and better. Just because it's getting better and better and better, don't get intoxicated with it and say this is it. However good life pans out, neti, 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 no, no, no. However good your health may be, however grateful to your body, thank you, but no thank you. However elevated your mind may feel, thank you, but no thank you, this is not it. However sharp your insight is, thank you, but no thank you, this is not it, I am going out. Neti, 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 no, not this. When you do that, you break Maya. That level of objectivity is the level that we have to attempt to reach, which we can do if we think and rethink about the self in us, which is the only thing there is. Thank you. Now I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for the insights, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for the 4 lectures we had, sir, from you.
Welcome.
Or 5.
Thanks a lot.
But you have better hand. Janki ji is there now to carry you forward.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.